I've already made one video this morning, and it's the first one I've done with a webcam. I'm not used to it. Most of the time I was looking down and not at the camera, which is a bit, I don't know, it irritated me when I watched the film. So I'm going to make it again. I'll probably not say the same things, but I need to keep remembering to be looking up at you. I'm sat in my little workspace, which is in the corner of my lounge. Came home from uni last night and started pondering. Well, I started pondering actually immediately, and then on the train coming home I was wrecking my brain trying to think, about failure and the connotations that if you create something that looks like it's failed, then you've kind of not necessarily achieved the object, because that would be successful, because the brief is to create something that looks failed, and there's all the ins and outs and turnarounds with that one that can be a bit mind-boggling. Certainly it's got me going anyway. Quite enjoy it though. Came home, started playing with materials and things. I've got some bits of charred coal that I've actually burnt coal that I've had for a while. Anyway, I put some little white marks, linear marks in a very fine white line on those, and I like them. So anyway, I decided then to mount them onto a piece of plain linen canvas, kind of knowing it'll look wrong, it'll look a bit naff, a little teeny canvas. In fact, I'll go and grab a blank one. Took a wee while. That's it. Simple, plain, linen canvas little thing. I stuck these bits of coal on it, and it looked daft. You could consider that a failure. So you just presented it as it was, really, as a failure. But first thing that I realised is that I should have photographed the process of marking the bits of charred coal, which I didn't do. And it's too late now, because on the finished piece, or almost finished piece, or I think finished piece, they're concealed under there, and it's too late to grab them now. You can, if you're observing through the holes, just see the occasional kind of white line on a piece of charred something, which actually is the coal. And anyway, the reason that I ended up masking over those was they didn't look right, and so it was a kind of correction. And the thing is that something that is very typical of my more recent work in the last year or so is that going through the process, starting to do something, playing with weird materials, throwing stuff together, mingling mediums with it, just lots of experimentation. And in that process, inevitably you're going to get stages, you're going to get layers that you've built, which you could just look at and you just know they're not right, and therefore you would say, potentially you could say that they failed in terms of a visual reference. It's a personal subjective thing. If it looks right to me, it's a success. If it looks wrong to me, I consider it a failure. So when things look wrong, I just carry on working and work over them. There might be parts of it that I'll retain, but I'll carry on building layers and working over it. So you could say that my pieces of work are typically layer upon layer upon layer of failure. The occasional successful bit, but for some reason when that happens, I still often carry on working. And so you can get layers of what I perceive to be failed textures, surfaces and relief and so on, and mingled with a number of successes. In fact, it can even happen that when I reach a point and decide a piece of work is finished, it's arguably maybe not as good as some of the layers that might have been concealed underneath, but they're always in there. I know that they're there. Sometimes I record this process so that people have got something to look at. My voice is going now. It does when I talk a lot. So yeah, there are layers of failure, and then there are moments of success, and it's a finished piece, which is, well, in my mind, a finished piece when I decide it's finished is successful. Anyway, back over to this. The pieces of coal in there looked a bit weird on top of the blank linen canvas. And so I decided to cover them up. I've had this plasticky parcel wrapping material. It came in a package that was delivered to me. I've had this probably for a couple of years. I have boxes and boxes of weird materials and components and bits of stuff that I know at some point will be used. And so I've chopped this up into little squares and wrapped it tight and bonded it onto the back of this little canvas, stretched it over the coals to create these raised relief areas, and where the coal was pressing hard, it got quite shiny. I've enhanced that by varnishing the middle section with a gloss varnish. The outer is supposedly matte, but actually you can see it's still got a sheen, so I'll be working on that because I like the contrast between the matte area and then the taller tension area in the middle being shiny. I covered it because I'm covering something that I thought didn't look right. So the idea is, okay, I'll cover that and see if I can create something that does look right. I took it a stage further then. Once it was taught, I've obviously applied mediums, I've applied acrylic pigment in those mediums, and created this rather dark, gloomy kind of expression. I've also perforated it with holes by using an old trusted tool which I've had for many years, like 30, 40 years maybe, and it's actually, you can't see it there, a Letraset burnisher, love it, and heated that up, trusty flame, and made these sort of neat and clean perforations into the surface of the I think polystyrene kind of material cloth, which I kind of liked. Now then, that enables you to look inside, and when you look inside you can see parts of the natural linen was shown, which I've injected some black ink in there. I've also tucked in bits of coiled pure silver wire in a sort of scribbly format there, tucked in there as well, and something else tucked in there, coiled wire, no that's it, silver wire, stone, and a bit more colouring, and you can kind of see them through it. I like being able to look beyond the surface layer into something happening underneath that's a bit vague. What is this about? It's about covering failure, and like I said, all my work is about covering failure. It's also an expressionist kind of image. It looks dull, it looks dark, it looks gloomy, it looks rather grim. It's almost got a facial expression on there, and that is deliberate. It's a mode of depression, a depressive state, typically a state that would occur after something not going quite right or something going terribly wrong, neither of which you could easily deem failure. So this is an expressive representation of the mood or mode that one can enter into, a depressive mode after the experience of failure. So therefore I'm calling it After a Failure, which is really corny, and I'm not looking at the camera again. I've fallen into the same trap as last time, but this one's going to have to do, and I'm finished for now. I'm probably going to do maybe a couple more. See, I've got bits of coal here in my tray, and I've got 2 more pieces of this. I might do 3. I might do a triptych of depressive moods, all based around failed moments. So that's it for now. Whew, 8 minutes, that's pretty lengthy. Hope it's not too weary to listen to.